Tell me about the song 20 years ago and how that song came to be.
Well, that was House of Gold at that time. By this time, they'd become Warner Music. But anyway, it was the same environment. We had a writer's house, or they'd provided us with a writer's house. And it was a big old house on Music Row with, I don't know, 6 or 7 or 8 different rooms. And that's where everybody gathered every day. And writers went off, and a melody person with a word person were off in this room. And this team of writers was off in this room. And I was there one day. I think it was a Friday. It was a Friday, as I recall. And I didn't have a writing appointment, so I was I was lurking around looking for something to do. In one room was Michael Spriggs with a guy named Dan Tyler, who knew his way around a tune, very successful songwriter. I could hear through the door that they were working on something and it was good. And because I was listening, what's going on in there, And I also listened long enough to know that they'd hit a point where they weren't moving forward. So about lunchtime, I come back and they're still kind of going through the same thing. I go, they're not any. Hey, fellas, what's going on? Anybody want a beer? So we had, I got my way into that with a 6-pack of Tall Boys, and I said, what are you playing? What are you working on? They played it for me, and I said, maybe what if we did this to get to a chorus? And they went, oh yeah, okay. So so I got in on the song, and I think it was. That sounds really premeditated and really nasty, but actually, I knew they were kind of stuck, and I knew they had something good. And we wrote all the time like that.
Sure.
It wasn't that's how that place was.
Yeah, it's the process,
yeah,
right?
It was the process, and let's move it along. So by Friday afternoon, we had much of it done, and the little part that I had contributed really just helped get them to the next part they were getting to. And anyway, the following Monday, Michael and I and Dan, guess who was down there? Wood Newton was down there looking around for something to do. And we said, hey, we'll play you something we've been working on. And so by the end of the second verse, Wood was crying. And he says, you guys are writing my life. You have to let me in on the song. I said, okay, well, come on in. Let's write the third verse. So,
right.
So that's how that happened. That's how there were 4 writers on it.
Oh, wow.
2 of us kind of came after because it was Michael Spriggs' title.
Right.
Michael's from the Isle of Man off the coast of England.
Yeah.
And he started out with an idea about that place.
Sure.
Dan Tyler I don't remember where Dan was from, but I'm sure in Dan's mind, his 20 years ago was some other place. In my mind, it was my little hometown.
Sure.
And when they were singing the first part of this song, I could picture the whole thing, And then I'm sure Wood was thinking of someone else. So anyway, that was how 20 years ago was written. And Kenny Rogers was eventually sent the song with a note that suggested from somebody that he trusted he really needed to listen to this tune. And I think I said somewhere before that a couple of days later, Kenny called this songman, his name was Don Daly, called Don very early in the morning and said, I dreamed this song. I'm cutting it. So somewhere it got, he listened, got in his brain, he dreamed about it, and he thought he needed to cut it. So that's how things happen.
That's great.
So how do you tell a young person, just do this, get your song to Kenny Rogers, first get on the song, then get it to Kenny Rogers, then make him dream it, and then you'll have a hit.